President Donald Trump said he ordered a series of airstrikes on Yemen's capital, Sana'a, on Saturday, promising to use overwhelming lethal force until Iranian-backed Houthi rebels cease their attacks on shipping along a vital maritime corridor. According to Associated Press, the Houthis said 9 civilians were killed. Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out aerial attacks on the terrorists' bases, leaders, and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets, and to restore navigational freedom, Trump said in a social media post. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. The Houthis reported a series of explosions in their territory Saturday evening. Images circulating online showed plumes of black smoke over the area of the Sana'a airport complex, which includes a sprawling military facility. At least 9 people were killed, said a spokesman for the Houthi-run health ministry. In a statement on social media, he said another 9 were wounded. The airstrikes come a few days after the Houthis said they would resume attacks on Israeli vessels sailing in waters off Yemen in response to Israel's blockade on Gaza. There have been no Houthi attacks reported since then. Earlier this month, Israel halted all aid coming into Gaza and warned of additional consequences for Hamas if their fragile ceasefire in the war isn't extended as negotiations continue over starting a second phase. The Houthis targeted over 100 merchant vessels with missiles and drones, sinking 2 vessels and killing 4 sailors, during their campaign targeting military and civilian ships between the start of the war between Israel and Hamas in late 2023 and January of this year, when a tenuous ceasefire in Gaza took effect. President Donald Trump said he ordered a series of airstrikes on Yemen's capital, Sana'a, on Saturday, promising to use overwhelming lethal force until Iranian-backed Houthi rebels cease their attacks on shipping along a vital maritime corridor. The Houthis said 9 civilians were killed. Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out aerial attacks on the terrorists' bases, leaders, and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets, and to restore navigational freedom, Trump said in a social media post. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. According to Associated Press, he also warned Iran to stop supporting the rebel group, promising to hold the country fully accountable for the actions of its proxy. It comes 2 weeks after the U.S. leader sent a letter to Iranian leaders offering a path to restarting bilateral talks between the countries on Iran's advancing nuclear weapons program that Trump has said he will not allow to become operational. The Houthis reported a series of explosions in their territory Saturday evening. Images circulating online showed plumes of black smoke over the area of the Sana'a airport complex, which includes a sprawling military facility. At least 9 people were killed, said Anis al-Asbahi, spokesman for the Houthi-run health ministry. In a statement on social media, he said another 9 were wounded. Nasruddin Amir, deputy head of the Houthi media office, said the airstrikes won't deter them and they would retaliate against the U.S. Sana'a will remain Gaza's shield and support and will not abandon it no matter the challenges, he added on social media. The airstrikes come a few days after the Houthis said they would resume attacks on Israeli vessels sailing in waters off Yemen in response to Israel's blockade on Gaza. There have been no Houthi attacks reported since then. Thousands of veterans attended a rally against Donald Trump and his administration in Washington, D.C. and across the United States on Friday. The demonstrators, who rallied on the National Mall, protested against the Trump administration's deep cuts to the federal government, including at the Department of Veterans Affairs, federal job losses for veterans, the pardon of January 6 rioters and reductions in veterans' healthcare services. The Now DC march that was organized by 14th Now movement also called for Donald Trump to be removed from the White House. Donald Trump is one of the most sinister dictators on earth today, said one of the protesters while addressing the crowd. I think it's wrong that veterans such as myself, as well as everyone across the country, has to go through this autocracy, this oligarchy that we live in today, another protester named Vincent Camacho told local media. The protesters included a mix of veterans, family members of veterans and left-wing protesters, with signs ranging from general calls to stop Trump and his advisor Elon Musk's coup, to ones offering support for Ukraine, to others opposing cuts at the VA. Among them were also a group opposing Russia's war in Ukraine. Russia is not as strong as it pretends to be. Russia has 10% or more inflation if they're even telling the truth about themselves. They produce nothing except for war, chaos and disinformation, one of the protesters said during the protest.
And chaos and disinformation. When's the last time you had some Russian wine or drove a Russian car? Never. Vladimir Putin is probably the most sinister dictator on planet Earth today. He's not your friend. He's not coming to your birthday party at the bowling alley. He is.
We're still serving today. We're still serving.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has told global leaders to keep the pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin to back a ceasefire in Ukraine. According to Associated Press in his opening remarks Saturday to a virtual gathering of what he has termed the Coalition of the Willing, Starmer said Putin will, sooner or later, have to come to the table. The call is expected to delve into how countries can help Ukraine militarily and financially, as well as gauging support for any future possible peacekeeping mission.
Good morning, colleagues. Can I just start by thanking you all for making time for this important meeting this morning. We've got a lot to discuss because since we last met in person in London just under 2 weeks ago, a lot has happened, particularly in the last week. So it's very important we catch up to move forward. I think what this week has shown, particularly the developments and progress on Tuesday, is that President Zelenski, who's with us this morning, has shown once again that Ukraine is the party of peace, because he has agreed to and committed to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. Now what we see, and this is centrepiece for our discussions today, is that Putin is the one trying to delay. And in a sense, and you all know this, if Putin is serious about peace, it's very simple. He has to stop his barbaric attacks on Ukraine and agree to a ceasefire. And the world is watching. And my feeling is that sooner or later he's going to have to come to the table and engage in serious discussion. But, and this is a big but for us this morning in our meeting, we can't sit back and simply wait for that to happen. We have to keep pushing ahead, pushing forward, and preparing for peace, and a peace that will be secure and that will last. And I think that means strengthening Ukraine so they can defend themselves, and strengthening obviously in terms of military capability, in terms of funding, in terms of the provision of further support from all of us to Ukraine. Secondly, being prepared to defend any deal ourselves through a coalition of the willing. We've begun that process, and this morning we can take it forward. And then thirdly, and really importantly, given the developments of the last few days, to keep the pressure on Putin to come to the table. And I think collectively we've got a number of ways that we can do that. And so it's those three heads really that we're going to focus on in this meeting: strengthening Ukraine, being prepared to defend any deal ourselves through a coalition of the willing, and keeping that pressure on Russia at this crucial time.